I've lived it in the mud, the chaos, and the moments nobody writes about. This show is the truth, raw, unfiltered, and built for leaders who actually give a damn. If you're ready to grow, ready to own your own story, and ready to lead from the front, you're in the right place. Speak up, show up, lead. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. I have Marie on here today, otherwise known as Slider Babe, and she's going to be my guest. But before we get started, I always have to put a plug in for my books. So Speak Up, Show Up, Lead, the book. This is my story of leadership lessons throughout my life. And then Resilience is Built, Not Born. And this is a guide I wrote to help you understand how to become more resilient. So if you're interested in these, Speak Up, Show Up, Lead, and Resilience is Built, Not Born, go to Amazon.com and check them out. How you doing today, Marie?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Well, I'm happy that you agreed to come on here and have a conversation with me today. Before we get started, would you mind doing a quick introduction so everybody knows who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Marie Slider Henriksen. And as JJ was saying, Slider Babe is my online handle and it's everything. I am a recovery advocate for trauma and addictions, specializing with veteran advocacy. I do write poetry about recovery from trauma and addictions, and I'm working on a couple other projects as well. And I am the co-host of the Every Day is a Saturday USMC Veteran Coffee Talk with Brian and Marie podcast, where we focus on veterans and first responders, family members, advocates, and encouraging people to heal out loud, PTSD to advocacy.
Sweet. And there are a couple of things that you wanted to share with us before we got started. If you wouldn't mind, I think this would be a great time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So as I was saying, I write poetry. I published my first book through Slider Babe Publishing, which is something that I set up. This book is called More Me Than I Used to Be. It has my own poetry as well as my own photography. And this is one of my pictures that I took in San Diego. And in this book, it is my journey of healing from when I got sober 9 years ago till now. And it has all of my just journey into faith and sobriety. You can buy this from me by itself, or you can, I'm working on nonprofit partnerships. My goal is to get this book into trauma centers or jails or institutions, mental health facilities, addiction centers. If you are interested in partnering with me, you can buy 5 at cost for $55, and I'll give you a free one. And so that 5, you could either take it yourself and go donate it into a facility, or you can just donate it to me and I'll give it to some local facilities. So 5 for $55, and you get a free one. Just contact me. You can check out the book and all of my work, my podcasts and everything on sliderbabe.com. But I also wanted to read you one of my poems before I get started, just to kind of show kind of where my journey has started and has taken me. And I actually wrote this one. I was almost 2 years sober. I wrote this in 2018, and it's called Hope in the Fight.
Let's do it.
And it's something that I still feel today. The fight is still so real. It pulls me to and fro. It makes me feel insane, like I have nowhere safe to go. It yells inside my head and tells me I'm a fool, that in seeking out some help, I'm just another mule. I know that this is temporary. It will not last that long. And the purpose of this fight is to make me strong. I know that there are others fighting right beside, yet part of me still wishes this fight would just subside. Depression and anxiety fill me to the core. I can tell you this much, this life is not a bore. There's beauty still around, faith and love still there, even though I hide them, making me feel bare. I won't give in to evil. It cannot have my life. though it tries to overcome me and cuts me like a knife. I know that God is watching, offering his aid. Sometimes it's through angels or offering a blockade. Sometimes it's through man who offer a kind deed, or nature, music, scriptures, even in books I read. I know he won't give up in helping me return. There are just so many lessons I have yet to learn. So, when I feel despair and my path seems hard to follow, I look down at my feet and take one step towards tomorrow. It's the only way I know that today I can bear the struggles set before me, and one day I can share the hope that kept me going on this journey I went through to the glory in the end when we are made anew.
Wow. I think that is a poem that we could all find some common ground with. I definitely think evil tries to overtake us on a daily basis. I definitely think we all struggle with something. Some of our demons are a little bit darker than others, but definitely every day is a struggle to some extent. And so that was a really good one. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. I actually, that poem I wrote the first time I went to the psych unit in October of 2018. I wrote it on just a piece of paper with a pencil, and I typed it up when I got out, and it was just that was the hope that I was able to find in the pain.
Mm. I pray that everyone can find hope in their pain. Uh, I think that's something that even I struggle with, is sometimes when there's a lot of pain, trying to find that bright spot to pull myself out of the dark. And I think that we all have that too, to a certain extent, whether it's easier or harder. I mean, it just all depends on the situation. That's a good one. That To put it into words, I think I would have a hard time putting that into words, but I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, this show is about you, your journey, and if you can share as much of that as you like, I would like it if you would share a little bit about your journey, especially since transition. And I know that you've had a number of things, and whatever you're comfortable with. And I know you're an open book because I've seen a few of your episodes that you do on the other show. But yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that journey that you've had.
Okay. So if anybody is interested in more details, you can go to sliderbabe.com, go to my podcast. And the first 10 episodes I did with my co-host was all breaking my story apart. And we literally did 10 episodes of just breaking down the story, his story and my story and stuff. So I'll just give just a real quick brief overview, and then we can get into the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, my journey was kind of rough. I was born to addict alcoholic parents and raised in foster care. With that, there was a lot of different difficulties that I went through. I was adopted when I was 9, and I had dealt with some different neglect issues and some different sexual stuff that happened to me. And then I developed many addictions really early on. My biggest one was to people. I became a codependent. I became very much a caretaker and a people pleaser. And I ran to food when I was younger. And then when the food stopped working, I turned to self-harm. And when the self-harm stopped working, I turned to weed and alcohol. And I was about 12 years old when I started, pretty regularly using. And that led me to some crazy situations. I did have some really amazing moments in childhood. I had some amazing moments, and I had a family that loved me as best as they could. But being in foster care in the 90s, there's just a lot of things that end up happening, and I've been able to see, now that I'm sober, I'm able to see different sides to things. But for so long, I just felt unloved. And I just felt like everyone would abandon me. Everyone would hurt me, and then it turned into, with all the sexual stuff that was happening, that my body was my worth. And that was it. And so I just got into real bad partying and started failing classes and stuff like that. My parents and my brother came up with an idea to move me up to Utah. I was living in Arizona at the time, moved up to Utah, but wherever you go, there you are. And I ended up partying with some older gentlemen that ended up raping me when I was 17. And that was kind of like, okay, I have no worth. I have no self-esteem, no worth. But I still had these moments of God showing up in my life. And so I continued trying to have faith. I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as I've been sober, I have returned to that faith. But for many years, I fell away from the church. But when I was younger, I had some opportunities within the church that really kind of helped me to have a foundation to go back to when I got sober. I also had a teacher, and I've been shouting his name on the rooftops over the last couple podcasts because, he is the man, Greg Park at Timpanogos High School. He's the man who started giving me a voice in my writing when I could not speak my pain. And so that, again, was a foundation I was able to get back to when I got sober. So I started writing a little bit. I knew that I wasn't going anywhere, and I decided to join the military. Got in a fight with my dad. I joined the Army. In the Army, I got better at being an alcoholic. Really good at being an alcoholic. I got lost in a lot of promiscuity. I got married and divorced. I ended up in Germany for a couple of years, and that was when I first got in trouble for alcohol. I ended up moving to Washington State and then getting deployed to Iraq. And I deployed for a year. I was a medic, and I worked with the Brigade Support Battalion, but also the Field Artillery guys for a while. I worked hard. I played harder. I got a couple, got in trouble a few times, Article 15 investigations from a lot of stuff, promiscuity, as well as just drunken incidents that happened. Was there for about 8 months, went home on leave. When I went home, my hips gave out on me. Along all of this time, my hips were taking damage just from all of the weight, all the wear and tear, and stuff like that. And they ended up medically discharging me. And that took about a year and a half, a little over a year. So I finished out my deployment, grounded to the fob, and then got out a year and a half. It was a year and a half later. So you take somebody who had this childhood trauma that never addressed it, who is a blooming alcoholic addict, who has no value in her mind but her body, and now you say your body is worthless and we're kicking you out of the military. So I went down a really dark path for a while, and I ended up getting out of the military they gave me 30 grand. I spent it within 2 weeks, partying in Vegas and just acting crazy. And I was like, okay, I need to do something with my life, but I had no worth, no anything. Like my brain was just not in a good place. So I started going to school. I got engaged to a man. It was a very codependent alcoholic relationship. And I got my associates and a certificate, started with my bachelor's. There was a lot of crap that happened with me and my ex, and we ended up breaking up. And I had the feeling I needed to go to Florida. So this was 2015. I decided to take financial aid and drop out of school. And so then they held my transcripts hostage and I couldn't go back to school. So I end up in Florida. And like I said, I'm going really quick through this. So I end up in Florida, and that next year and a half, I hit a very low bottom. I was partying it up with college kids. I was working at a brew house. I was getting high all the time. And I was in the throes of promiscuity. Like I had no value except what I could do for other people, but I was miserable with that. So I drank and got high. I was not okay with myself. I wasn't okay with my past. I wasn't okay with who I was. And just went through a lot of layers of misery for so long. January of 2017, after a bunch of different incidents that happened that kind of started me realizing, oh, hey, I'm not okay. I might be an alcoholic. Back in the day, this was fun, but it's gotten to a point where it's not fun anymore, and I can't see my way out. and I can't see my way forward. And so it's like, okay, I will die as an alcoholic, but I wasn't okay with that. And so God intervened, and he stopped an accident that would have killed a friend in mine, a friend in me. He literally grabbed the wheel as I was driving drunk, overcorrecting, and I overcorrected, and a car was zooming by, and I literally felt the wheel rip out of my hands as a car went zooming by, and it would have killed my friend because he didn't have a seatbelt on. He was curled up in the passenger seat. It would have killed him because like we were going 70 and these cars were going 80, 90, 100 past us, and I was driving drunk. And that was that act of God. And I walked into the rooms of recovery the next day, and I was like, I can't look back. And there was just a lot of different incidents that happened. Around that time, I realized I was not mentally okay or physically okay. I had been self-medicating for so long. My body was deteriorating. I had been putting damage on my body and my mental health, and it was not okay. So after about a year, I end up moving to North Carolina. I start having seizure-like episodes. They call them pseudo seizures. I know now it was a mixture of my mental health, but also my physical health that was going on. So they weren't actual seizures, but my body was not okay. They ended up misdiagnosing me with borderline, or sorry, with bipolar, and correctly diagnosing me with borderline and PTSD. So they started me on some medications. Around this time, I end up getting super suicidal because I get triggered back to some childhood trauma, and I end up in the psych unit for the first time in 2018. That was when they realized, like, hey, you are not okay. So the VA ended up giving me my permanent and total unemployability. And so by that point, I hadn't been working for a year, but by that point, they finally gave me that unemployability. And so my life began being solely about my mental health, my physical health, and my spirituality. And so over those next 5 years, there was a lot of different journeys that ended up happening. So in those 5 years, COVID hit. I had started going back to church. I had been working on my step work. I had been doing a lot of things, but I didn't realize that the changes that I was making, even though I knew that I needed them, I wasn't really internalizing them because I was a people pleaser. And I realized that I was doing it for everybody else. And I was like, oh, COVID hit. Now I can't put on a show to everybody else. And I started going back to some of my old patterns of behavior. And it took me, I ended up really seeking food in that time period as well. And so between 2018 and 2022, even though I'm still sober, I am mentally not okay. I end up getting up to 250 pounds. My dad gets dementia. I get asked to move up to Utah. So I move out to Utah. I finally realize some of the codependency I have with my family that was very unhealthy. There were some unhealthy dynamics. And I was like, oh, I'm going to start some trauma therapy. So I did trauma therapy all of 22. By the end of 22, I start having reactions to medications because I'm not bipolar, which bipolar is a chemical imbalance. I am borderline, which is an emotional. So once I addressed the emotional, the meds stopped working because my chemicals balanced out naturally. And so I started having adverse reactions. So I end up in the psych unit for the second time in 22, and they detoxed me off all of my medications. From there in January, I've lost about 50 pounds. I end up deciding to get a breast reduction to help with my back. My body doesn't know how to handle not having the weight and not being top heavy anymore. So my hips start moving more than they're supposed to, and they start tearing apart. I find out in that next year that I have something called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So that my body makes a defective collagen. And so all of my soft tissue is kind of degenerating. And so I wind up getting bilateral hip replacements. In the facility that I'm in there, an awesome thing happens. I get married to my best friend that I've known since I was in North Carolina. We get married. We get out, I start having to face relational trauma that I never dealt with. So I end up in an intensive outpatient program. I start finally balancing out. Last year, 2025, I was a wonderful year. Okay. I went on my honeymoon. I published my book. I started podcasting. I started feeling more like me. But then my dad died.
Mm.
And there was a lot of other layers that came up that I didn't realize that I had. And so I'm having these wonderful, great things going on, but I'm also dealing with some mental health stuff from my childhood that I never dealt with. So back in December, or back in November, I end up just not doing good. I'm dissociating, and there's disassociating where I'm choosing to pull myself out of a situation in a good way or a bad way, and then there's dissociation, which people with PTSD or borderline, their brain will go bye bye. They will stay there and act outside of their values, and that started happening to me. So I end up putting myself in the psych unit in December and doing a PTSD program in January. Once I got out of the PTSD program, one of the things that had triggered me to some of that childhood stuff is realizing I had to get a hysterectomy because of my disability. I have some prolapses that wasn't okay, and I've never had children. And so my mind had to go through a lot of different layers of who am I as a woman, never having children and no longer having the ability to choose. Even though there's a lot of reasons why I chosen not to have kids, between passing on genetics, the way the world is, and my physical and emotional health. It was still really messing with me. And so once I got through that PTSD program and worked through a lot of my complex PTSD stuff, I finally was able to get my hysterectomy. So now I'm a month out of my hysterectomy surgery and healing, working through a lot of the mental health stuff still, and finding more balance. I'm still writing. I am podcasting. I am sharing, awareness of some of these struggles that I've gone through. Saturday, I just had an amazing opportunity to go do a veteran and family wellness event and set up a table, and just do networking. Over this last year, I developed kind of a name for myself as a veteran advocate and as a recovery advocate, and my big thing is I love to just connect people to resources. I don't have a lot of energy to go out and fix people, right? And I've chosen not to be that person anymore because I don't have I can take care of people without being a caretaker. Yep. And so my journey is I connect people with resources, and I love doing that. And then I have people come on my show. And,
that is beneficial. That is helping.
Yes. Yeah. And then I go on other people's show to share my story and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where my journey has led me. I'm still working through many layers of trauma, and I am moving forward and being there for the next person. And along all of this, I have developed such a strong relationship with God. Again, I am very active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I am very active in the recovery community and very active in the veteran community. And my husband and I are super, grateful for each other, and he works through his stuff and I work through mine. He's also a veteran. And so it's just been, I have a good life today. It's not how I pictured it completely, and there's actually a poem that I've written that's called The Morning After Mourning, and recognizing that I have to allow myself to mourn what I thought my life was going to be like, and also find joy in what it is, in radical acceptance. And so that's kind of where I'm at today.
Well, that's great. And, you have a lot of good messages in that journey, but the one that I think that I'd like to pass on, because, that's kind of what this podcast is all about, is that you don't give up. You fight. And you fight for you. And it sounds to me like you are willing to fight for those that you care about. So
my shirt here says, choose progress, refuse to give up.
I couldn't
That's
read the
what I do.
bottom part. My old man eyes, even with glasses on, can't even see that small.
Yeah. But
But
yeah, that's the motive of my life. You know, like people talk about, and this is something that I love to share. People talk about resiliency, right? I used to hate when people would say I'm resilient. I hated that word until I came up with a new definition. And the new definition, because I don't want to have to be the person that keeps going,
mhm,
right? But my definition of resiliency is the ability to keep getting up. It's the ability to keep reaching out. It's the ability to say, hey, no matter how many times I fall down, I can reach out my hand and somebody will help me back up. That is resiliency. It's not about, well, I have to face all of this stuff on my own and I have to keep, no, it's realizing you can't flip and do this stuff on your own and you have
right.
to reach out for help. And that is what I have done every layer of the way, is reach out for help.
Well, and that's an important lesson because a lot of people think that, and there is an element to that, right? Where if you're uncomfortable with everything, that you have to start leaning into the hard stuff to get better at it. But then there's also with it when you're drowning, it's a real strength in resilience to be able to find that person or be able to make those connections to be able to reach out to somebody when those times are hard, because you're right, it's that bundle of sticks idea, right? If one stick, when you bend it, it breaks really really easily, but if you put a bunch of them together, you're super super strong. And so when you put it like that, it makes perfect sense to me. We shouldn't do anything alone. We're not built that way. Humans are naturally gregarious creatures for a reason. It's because we're supposed to come together and make stuff happen.
Well, and that's my biggest message that I share to anybody, especially veterans who are getting out of the military, right? When you are transitioning from one unit to another, you immerse yourself into that unit. Well, when you get out of the military, you have a new unit. It's called the veteran community. You have to go and figure out, okay, who's available, who's this, who's my supply guy, who's my driver, who's the, you know what I mean? Like you have to find out who your new squad is and you have to intermingle with them. You know, and I've said this on multiple other podcasts, there is no excuse for a veteran to be alone anymore. There's no excuse. There are so many organizations and people out there who are willing to put their hand out for you. You have to reach out for them.
Well,
There's so many resources, and it's not just for veterans, but anybody.
mhm.
There are so many resources out there now, and there's so many people. You know, I'm a part of like so many different organizations on Facebook or in person that literally it's just people that are like, hey, let me help you out. Let me help you out. Let's trade services. Let's take care of each other. You know, it's that hunter gatherer mentality. I'll do this and you do this. This is, you don't have money. Okay. Can you come over and cut my hair? Okay. Well, I'll pay for your groceries. You know, whatever it is, there are so many resources out there to help us.
Well, I think we forget that it was only, oh gosh, 100, 200 years ago, longer even. I mean, ever since back during the beginning times of civilization, everyone was used for their strengths. There was one person or one family or one group of people that did all the farming. And then there was the guy that built the weapons. And then there was the other guy that made the guy or gal or family that made the clothes. And then there were people that went and did they raised the sheep so that they could do all this. I mean, if you think about it that way, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. This is basic leadership stuff, but this all works for a reason. It's based in our human nature. And so why would you try to do things alone when I guarantee you're not good at everything?
Yep.
There's somebody out there that can help you who's good at something that you're not. So why not leverage that?
Yeah, and that's kind of the basis of my mentality of how I live, right? For so many years I was like, I have to do this, I have to do this, this is how I have to show up, this person needs this is what I have to do this. And I lived in that expectancy, which built up resentments.
It does.
So bad. I couldn't enjoy my life because my life was only what I could do for you. And I had to put boundaries up. I had to walk away from friends, families, organizations. I had to walk away from all of that in order to be like, okay, I have value just for being me, not for what I do for other people. And in that, it helped me build up those boundaries to say no. I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the money for that. I don't have that. And so part of, where I'm at today, right? I don't have a lot of energy. I have to wear it right now. We're trying to figure out my wrist. I wear this brace. I wear braces on my knees, ankles, and feet. It's called a KAFO on a regular basis when I go out. I have to sometimes use my cane when I'm at the airport. I have to use a wheelchair. Like I don't have a lot of actual energy, and then you also add the mental health stuff on top of it.
Oh,
So I can't always show up in person with people. But what I can do is I have a phone and I've got a computer and I've got a camera, and I can connect people with other people. I can make calls. I can direct people to where they can go. I can podcast and let people share their story. Like I'm a part of this new think tank that I've set up, right? And it's called the Veteran Database Think Tank. Okay. Now I don't have energy to coordinate a whole lot of things, but my thought process was, hey, there needs to be a database with all of the veterans who are, with all of the nonprofits, all of the state organizations, everything that's accessible for someone when they get out of the military to be like, hey, I'm going to this state. Here is everything that's available. So what I have been able to do is just over the phone and on the computer, I have got about 10 different organizations who are connected, coming together, trying to figure out how to do this. Do we do it as an app? Do we do it as a website? How do we do this? Do we do it as a program? Whatever we do. All my job is I set up, here's the date and time that we're going to meet, and I've got an agenda. And that's all I'm doing. I'm letting people know about it so that they can show up and be there. And then they're doing all of the work. So that's the thing that I can do is I can connect people to share ideas, and that's my strength, and so you get to find out what your strength is. Some days I can show up and I can give people a ride to a meeting, or I can donate, $20 here and there for like someone to get food. But mostly that's what I do is I take calls, I answer phones when somebody is struggling with addictions or trauma, and I connect them to different organizations. And like I actually had a really cool call last week, and a VFW post called me up last week, and they're like, hey, I hear you're the person to talk to. And I was like, what do you need? And they're like, well, we're having this event. These are the type of organizations we're looking for. I was like, I got you. So I was able to get some people connected for the organization.
Sweet.
And so and so that's the thing. It's like you find your strengths. My strengths are talking. I can talk. I have a voice, and I didn't always have a voice because I used to be worried about what I said and how it affected you. Yeah. But now I have a voice and I use it.
Sweet. Well, as you should. I think we all need to find that. I think that, we need to talk more about our backgrounds because I think our stories intersect a lot more than you probably think. But veterans just are that way. Usually that's a last resort for some people. But we'll talk more about that offline. But I think that's great. Now, I always ask this question at the end of my show to everybody. So to that one person who may be having a hard time moving forward, what's that one piece of advice that you would be willing to give them?
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Keep showing up, even when you don't want to. Keep showing up. I was just on a sobriety podcast. It's called The Sober Vet. If anybody is a veteran and is looking for sobriety, this Sober Vet is amazing. But I was just on his show, and one of the big things that we talked about is or at the end, I brought up is that idea that people relapse. People relapse in their mental health, and they relapse in their addictions and whatever it is. Okay. But a relapse can't be the end for you.
Nope.
Keep showing up. Even if you show up drunk or high or miserable or crying or frustrated or pissed off or angry, show up anyway. Keep moving forward. You don't have to be alone anymore. You don't have to give up. You don't have to let go. There is so many resources available for you. Just keep showing up. And God might not take whatever it is that you're struggling with right now. He might not. He might never take it, right? But he will give you the muscles on how to hold it. Whether it's an addiction or a trauma, he will give you the muscles on how to hold it. And he will show you people who can help carry you. So just don't give up. even
Yeah.
even if you're feeling miserable, if you here is just an example. Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
Okay, Eeyore is clinically depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he still showed up for his friends, and his friends still allowed him to show up miserable and sad. And they're like, "Hey, we're just going to sit with you." So he didn't give up. He knew that he had people there that would hold him even in his hardest moments. So even if you're feeling like Eeyore and you're like, nobody wants to hang out with me, well, those people are assholes if they don't want to. Find your people, because there are so many people that will take you as you are, and they will love you until you can love yourself, and they will give you a hand forward. So please just don't give up. Keep moving forward.
Gosh, I think that's a good piece of advice. So how many times do we just give up on ourselves and just automatically assume that everybody else gave up on us too?
Yeah.
It's that I can tell you with 100% certainty that I know I have done that many times. I mean, actually, even within the last 5 or 6 years. So, especially after I get out of the military, those 2 years after I got out of the military were probably the hardest 2 years. Even though I grew up in poverty with drug addicted parents and everything else, and child abuse and all the whole 9 yards. I think those were the hardest 2 years of my life, because I had to face the demons from combat, through abuse, through all that crap. And now that I'm not accepted by the military anymore, what the hell am I going to do now? But you know what? I'm here and I'm talking about all this stuff because somebody else will resonate with your story. They'll resonate with my story. They'll resonate with somebody else's story. And maybe they'll reach out to that person, and it could be that one conversation that pulls them up out of the mud.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you for doing what you do. Do you want to, one last time, why don't you go ahead and put a plug in for your book? I'll do mine, and then we'll hit the road, Jack.
Okay, so again, my book is called More Me Than I Used to Be, A Journey to Freedom. It's my own poetry and my own photography. You can buy it on Slider Babe right now. You can either buy one for yourself, or you can contact me and donate 5 to a facility at cost. So 5 for 55 and get a free one signed. You donate 5, I'll donate 1 to you, is basically how I'm doing it. So go to sliderbabe.com, and you can also access my podcast and my poetry and just any episodes that I have been a part of as well. And you can come on and be a guest on my show if you're a veteran, family member, first responder, advocate.
Love it. And my books, Speak Up, Show Up, Lead, which is also the name of this podcast, my story, Amazon.com. And then Resilience is Built, Not Born, Crafting a Mindset for Unshakable Strength. Those are both on Amazon.com. Check them out. This is my most recent book, and I noticed you guys have already been buying it. Keep it up. Let me know what you think. I'm going to keep on writing because it's my therapy. I'm going to keep on podcasting because it's my therapy. And I hope you all keep on enjoying this stuff because I'm getting good feedback. And again, leaders lead by example. Go out there and do your thing, and other people will follow suit with whatever they're trying to do. Thank you, Marie, for being a part of my show today. And thank you all for following me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe wherever you're seeing this, but leave a comment below if you have a question for Marie, question for me, or question for anybody. Y'all take care, and you have a good day.
Bye.